with a mic, back on the beat, back with a family, then back in the streets. The game on lock, I stand with a key. Standing my ground, I am planning to flee. Standing my ground, I am planting my feet. Taking a stand, embracing my destiny, shaking his hand, flipping the script.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the original Sunday night CrossFit Talk. I don't know how I got up for that because every team I root for stinks. Flat out stinks. It's been a rough weekend.
Yeah, we had our ups and downs. Lions did great. Spartans, nah.
I didn't watch normally I'm a huge football fan on the weekends, but I don't think I watched a single game today. So
yeah, I watched too much.
Right now.
The Rams game is awesome right now. It's in overtime.
Yeah, I was just watching that.
I thought Stafford was going to pull it out at the end. I couldn't quite get him into field goal range.
Mm-hmm.
But my Penn State Nittany Lions in the big matchup of the weekend laid an egg, but only fell to sixth in a 12-team playoff this year. Hopefully they can just close out the year. Ohio State has been their nemesis forever, and it sucks because I live in Columbus, and that means all week this week, everybody who has never watched a football game will tell me how bad my team is.
Right.
Did they get smoked?
They lost.
I'm just looking right now. One score game. Like it's not like they would say that they suck. It's like they got blown out.
They could win, but they could lose by 1 point, and everybody in this city will tell me how bad they are.
Yeah.
And then my Bears, who I thought I had all this optimism and all this hope, and then the Hail Mary last week that we talked about going into this week, a lapse in defense on the last play of the first half to give up a touchdown, and then they just fell apart. And it looks like they're crumbling from within, and I feel like I have no joy in Mudville tonight. And speaking of Mudville, Jamie's Detroit Lions played in an utter monsoon and totally spanked the Green Bay Packers.
They did. I got a little nervous there at the beginning with Branch getting ejected. But yeah, they played.
They didn't seem to need him today.
I guess not.
Yeah. And I hate the Packers. I don't like the Lions, but I hate the Packers.
Come on.
So
how can you not like the Lions? We've been terrible for so long
in the
that
Bears division. I can't like them.
That's fair.
And then we're going to touch on one more piece of sports news, and then we'll get into the CrossFit stuff. But I wanted to share this because I thought this was really cool in telling us where we are today in sports. I'm going to share the screen. Paige Buchers becomes the first college player to get a Nike sneaker, a signature Nike sneaker.
Love it. I like her a lot as a player, and I like her personality on social media.
Yeah, she's an amazing shooter. She's an amazing player. The shoe is freaking awesome.
Looks nice.
I love the looks of it. And then it actually has like stuff for her on the tongue, and but there's like a look of
good colors. I like the colors a lot.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
They mesh in with UConn.
She's seriously the first college player ever to have a shoe.
Nike. It says Nike.
Oh, okay.
But you also have to think about a lot of the players couldn't get like big deals and stuff before because you couldn't accept any money and as a scholarship athlete, and just now you can have some endorsement deals. So that's awesome for her.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Page buckets.
You have the NIL issue, and then in men's college basketball, so many leave early I think that's why women's basketball is taking off, because you know the players and what team they're on.
Yeah.
And you can follow them for 4 years. On the men's side, it's just a shuffle all the time. And living in Lansing, Michigan, Michigan State, the players just roll in and out all the time, and you really don't have a consistent team year after year.
Right.
And at the women's college game is kicking off this week, I think. Crazy that we're starting that season already too.
That is crazy. Not ready.
But huge shout out. She's going to be the player of the year. Paige is. She's
as
so
long as she stays
popular.
healthy. She's had some bad luck last few years, so as long as she stays healthy, I mean, Juju and other players can certainly put up a fight for that player of the year.
Yeah, I have an East Coast bias, I guess. But it's hard for me to stay up late for those. Like now that the Big Ten has games on the West Coast, oh my goodness, trying to stay up to watch like Oregon and Michigan.
Yeah.
Or, it was on early yesterday, but like those games now could be on at 10:30 at night, and it's gonna be tough on this old body. Yes, Indiana Fever has a new coach.
Not surprising.
Stephanie White, I think.
Stephanie White, yeah.
She was Connecticut's coach last year.
She played at for Indiana as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was like a very, very predictable signing.
Yeah, I heard it was like I saw it being predicted, and then it came to fruition at the end of the week. So, yeah. Fun stuff in all sports. So that's awesome. But we want to talk about some of the CrossFit stuff, and we're going to start off with the all access behind the scenes. We are nearing the end of the 11-part documentary. Episode 9 comes out tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. I have a trailer for it, but I want to send out a huge thank you to the sponsors who made it possible, which was Beck Bodie. They're a financial company that helps people financial plan. And when you watch the video, there's a QR code. You can hit that and they can help you out with all of your financial planning needs. And they love working with CrossFitters because they know all about goal setting and doing the steps it takes to reach those goals. And that's kind of how they set up the financial plan. So make sure you check that out. And of course, Thick Boy, who has been behind us in so many ways, and that documentary specifically, those were two big sponsors that got me to Birmingham and got me to film and got me an editor for the workout stuff. So thank you so much to them. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. But tomorrow we're going to hit up workout 8, which was the toes to bar, burpee over bar, and heavy clean, which our very own Jamie Latimer took second in. But yeah, so we are going to hit that up. And I have a little preview. No real theme this week. It's just kind of a smattering of some of the interviews, really small segments of them. And I'm going to play that now.
So you get the best of both worlds. You get to have fun, but you also are competing against the very best. If you think about the math, it's 0.001% is what's here in the final stage.
So after tasting it once, do you want to come back again?
Oh yeah, I'm coming back. You ain't got to worry. I've tasted it once. I'm already thinking about next season. Yeah.
The workout here, the barbell, like depending on what side you have to start on, you have to like turn a separate direction, and it was just so confusing. And like my brain was not understanding it, and the poor judge is like, oh my God, just tell me what to do.
Help me, sir.
Like, it's not your fault, I just don't understand.
I'm gonna say fuck a lot. I'm really sorry.
But we figured it out, so I got 7 rounds, so I feel good about it.
On the lunch one.
So in these moments, are you just an ear to listen, or are you giving them strategy?
A little bit of both. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about quite as much as he does, but a little bit of both. Ear to listen mainly. Just let him talk it out, work through it in his head. Yeah.
How nervous do you get before you go on the field?
Real nervous. Real nervous.
All right, what did he tell you?
Like I look like an FBI agent. Like, excuse me, sir, we've got a security breach.
So being part of this community, it becomes more than the workouts, it becomes more than the leaderboard. It's just the camaraderie it's more than I expected for this event, and that means the world. That's what keeps you going. That's what gets you up in the morning and say, all right, take 3, let's go.
Hey, back up. Old hat with this stuff?
No, it feels like the first time every time. It's horrible. I wish it felt like old hat, but no.
So this is your first CrossFit Games?
Sure is.
Are you having a ball?
I'm having so much fun. I've learned a lot in like a really short amount of time. It's cool. It's like I was fit enough to get here, and then it's just the the depth of field. It's just wild. Girls are so good. So
That's a trailer, episode 9. Tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Shout out Jonathan Ortega, Ellie Hiller, and Holly Dugan, major players in putting this together. Couldn't have done it without them. As always, Jonathan and Holly contributing continuously week after week with stuff for these documentaries, and Ellie Hiller that the weekend getting some of the post event footage. Couldn't have done it without her. What's the one thing I hated from that workout montage? Do you know it?
I don't know. The workout just.
I hate step over burpees.
Oh yeah, I know.
Hate it. So they were allowed. I mean, there was nothing.
Yeah, they were allowed
for that, and it is part of the rules. I just personally, it just
did you do it?
Look good.
Jamie, did you do it?
I think I stepped my last burpee on maybe all the rounds, maybe all but one round.
Just to kind of get a breather before going back.
Yeah. Well, plus I had to step.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like what Katrina was talking about.
Yeah.
You had to face certain ways for certain things. And depending on what side of or what stagger you had, your rules were different, which made it really confusing. And a lot of athletes messed that up. And it made it hard to see who was winning. And some people, it seemed, had a straight shot down and straight shot back. Others had to do this like twisty thing as they were going, which I feel didn't
equate to evening out the difference in the bar stagger for sure.
But it was still a great event.
Yeah, it was a good event.
Still a great event. And it's amazing how many people really dreaded that clean. Because the people that were really good at the other two things were really dreading the clean.
Yes.
Because it was definitely heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you get in this behind the scenes. So that's that. That'll be tomorrow. So excited how these are coming out. And I don't know if you know, a couple weeks back, I got a text from a friend named Lex, who said, why don't you put the age groups of each person on their names so we know what age group they're in. And I think that has added a little bit to the thing. So thank her for that suggestion.
Genius.
Yeah. Just another step in the process. That's all. But cool. So we had some big news this week. One, Mr. Brent Fikowski announced his retirement. He did that on Instagram and via an exclusive interview with the Morning Chalk Up. And here is his Instagram post. He said, after 12 years competing in the sport, the 2024 Rogue Invitational will be my last competition. It's been a tough decision knowing I'm still at my best and improving, but the excitement for a new set of challenges far outweighs my sadness. I have saying goodbye to this chapter of my life. The level of focus I gave while competing, I can now put into what is setting my soul on fire, improving this sport via the PFAA to help the next generation have it better than I did. Don't expect me to give anything less than 100% next week at the Rogue Invitational. I plan to go out with a bang. I'm going to open the floor to you two if you have anything you would like to share about Brent. I have a couple notes of things that I'd like to share. I will give a couple career highlights: 3 podiums, 2 bronze and a silver, 3 fourth place finishes, and for a big stretch dominated the West Regional.
And one of the fourth place finishes was a tie as well. He just lost the tiebreaker.
Yeah, that was 18.
Can't remember if it was 18 or not. It was the guy with the little flag.
Yep. Yep.
Blanking. He never really competed much after that.
Yeah, I'm sure Patrick will put in the comments.
Something, I think. I mean, I feel like I grew up in the sport of CrossFit, like watching him, right? Because like he was basically like my generation of qualification and regional. So I felt like I've watched his career. Lucas Holmberg. That's
yep.
Yeah, that's it. Or whatever his name is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's had an impressive career. He's getting at that age where, you know, it's a lot on the body, and he's got a kid as well. He's been involved with the PFAA, and like he said, like he has, if that desire to like train as hard as he did before isn't quite there, and he's found a new passion in terms of trying to put the sport in a better place. Like you can't fault him for, you know, going that direction, and I'm sure he's going to do the best job that he can with that. And yeah, he's had super impressive career. Like he would be in that Hall of Fame list that we talked about prior, and he definitely helped the sport of CrossFit in Canada grow. He's one of the main, athletes that Canadians have looked up to for all these years. So he's earned it. Yeah, he's happy retirement to him, and looking forward to seeing him compete next weekend. And hopefully he finishes out his career on a great note.
Do you think this will be a trend? I'll give it up to Jimmy here in a second. Do you think this will be a trend? You know, Carrie Pierce announced her retirement, did Rogue to finish it off. Kristen Holta kind of did the same thing. She did one more IF3 as well before she finished. But they both had that like final moment on the Rogue competition floor. I think Carrie put her shoes down. Kristen didn't do that, but do you think that's going to be the trend going forward for the Hall of Famers?
I think so. I think it's hard to say no to Rogue. Like you come off the games, you have everything paid for Rogue. There's less pressure. So just finishing off with a little bit of, a more intimate competition, I guess, I think makes sense. And you just finish off that year there. And then you take your off season basically after that. And not really off season, whatever you want to call it, your new season, your new reality. But I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jamie, any thoughts?
I mean, I'll be curious to see if he just means he's retiring from CrossFit HQ events. Will he continue to try to do Wadapalooza, do team stuff, do things that he can, or is he truly done competing? In a way, I mean, I can see, he put himself kind of in a bad spot asking for a somewhat of an ultimatum. But I do think he seems genuine in his care for the PFAA. That does seem to be a place where his heart lies. So putting his time and energy into that I can't blame him for that. I find it hard to believe that he's going to totally stop competing though. That's in those people's DNA.
The thing that's hard with our sport is you do all the other sports. Like when I retired from hockey last year, it's very easy for me to not play hockey. But in CrossFit, you're still going to continue to train.
Right.
And for the most part, right? Most people will continue to train and stay active and be fit, whether they choose to do CrossFit or they choose to do more outdoor stuff like road biking or mountain biking, running. That is a separate thing. They might do other races and stuff, but it's, you're still fit. And if you ever enter the open and stuff, you're still kind of competitive. And I think that's why you see a lot of these athletes 1 year or not even a full year after retirement, still dip their toes in the water of certain competitions. And then, they still have all this fitness that they've built from all these years and all these repetitions, that they're still very competitive worldwide and can qualify for these things. So then I think it is easy to compete here and there as a team, or just less pressure on yourself and still have other balance in your life and focus elsewhere.
Yeah. How old is Brent? Like 32?
I think he's 33.
I mean, I can see the guy possibly, depending on how many athletes kind of push this 35 bracket, I could see him stepping into that stage possibly if things go the direction he wants it to go, if he's able to get this PFAA to take off, and CrossFit is in a position he feels like he wants to represent that. I could see him doing that. But yeah, I could see him just doing things like Wadapalooza or team stuff.
And we talked about the PFAA and the fact that when you have active athletes in the sport, it's hard to get certain stuff. And maybe he realizes that, and he can have a different role even with CrossFit. And he's not affiliated with any training camp.
Right.
He's the perfect athlete, technically, with the experience as a competitor and not have any skin in the game with other, players that are competing, that he could either do testing, have some input on safety procedures or how to run certain things better. And he's not involved now in terms of the competition side. And maybe that's attractive to him. They could even give him a paid contract. Who knows?
Yeah.
And maybe that was the thing, is you can't be a competitor if you are working for, this part of either CrossFit or PFAA. But yeah.
I think I'll get into my PFAA part of my discussion in a minute, but I want to talk about him as the athlete and the person first. And that is, he was a game changer. He was really the true first tall athlete to succeed in the sport. Right. And I think what that did is, one, it showed other tall athletes they could.
Absolutely.
Then I think the sport actually modified itself to almost attract more people like Brent, where we are today, the Dallins, the James, like those types of athletes. I think one of the things that most impressed me was when he first started, he was known as the cardio guy.
The chipper. He was the chipper. He'd win every chipper.
Right.
Worldwide.
And then he got strong. And he really worked hard on his snatch and his clean and jerk to make them world.
He was technically strong. His technique was very, very good. I don't know. I'd have to look at his raw strength numbers. I think they're good, but he's technically very, very good in terms of his snatching and stuff. So
But wasn't it a clean and jerk that kind of kept him out of the games? And then he ended up
handstand push-ups.
The 1 year it was a clean and jerk for sure.
Maybe, yeah.
And then he worked on that and has gotten much better at that, where it wasn't even a deficiency for him.
Yeah.
Which was very, very impressive. A couple memories I have of him are the ranch run where Sam Briggs was trying to catch him. I thought that was a classic moment. The snatch that he levitated when he went over 300 pounds, and it came down and he did the he was almost levitating the bar down. And then personally, he's been on the show a couple times. He spent more time with us after the record button went off than he did while the record button was on. And he was so giving of his time. He gave us notes on stuff he had taken from previous years. He was always a very giving individual and one of my favorite people of all time because of the way he acted when the cameras weren't on. Right? He didn't have to do that. The cameras were off, interview was over, and he spent as much time after the interview as we did on the air, probably more. And really, really dove into media stuff with us and his opinions and where he thought it should be. And and how can you differentiate yourself, and like almost being a mentor, which was really, really cool. And he does, I know Patrick is saying, can't wait to hear him providing color for a broadcast. I think that's going to be amazing because he does have strong opinions about what a color commentator should be.
Yes.
And he shared those notes with me, and it's going to be amazing to see if he can pull that off.
Yeah. He's so well versed in the sport. Brent is a great speaker. I like to hear him talk. He doesn't fumble around his words. I think he would be excellent.
Yeah, I mean, he changed the game for a lot of things. Like, he would go over the video review process for people. He changed the games in terms of how to study your workouts and try to find the smallest little parts of your strengths and weaknesses to better your score. And he would really study this, like the movements, the timing of things, how long everything would take. And he was very intuitive. Like, he would think about different ways to climb the rope. Or I remember he pulled out a split snatch or something at one of the events, and it's like he had stuff in his back pocket always, just from years of training and taking notes and being that professor. And like, I think that's another thing that I take away from him, is just like the attention to detail that he always had in the sport. And I think that's important for others to see that, and that's what it took for him to, make it to the top and to be successful.
Corbin Dallas says, I think AJ Bartow was taller. I think he was too, but he did not ever see the success that Brent did.
Right.
AJ was kind of a one-trick pony when it came to the games. And he was really good at that one pony, but that's all he had. So when it comes so now that, like, and that's why it's been tough for me to comment on the PFAA for a while, because I really, really respect Brent as a person.
Yeah.
And I really like him a lot. And he has come on our show several times, and it's been awesome every time he's been here. But I wonder, has, like, the stuff that Carolyn's been saying about active athletes cannot have this position. And I know that we're not the only people saying that.
Right.
Did that affect this decision, that maybe he can be better at this position if he isn't an active athlete? My questions are, as we've been researching into the PFAA, you can't be a board member if you're not an active athlete. So are they going to modify their own rules so that Brent can be a board member of his own thing, or is he going to be a separate piece of that? It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of sports, they have like the NHLPA alum, and
well,
I wonder if there's. I mean, I think he's gonna be like the president, is what he said in the article.
When you look at players' associations, there is a person who is not a player that is the main negotiator and is the main person, and it's so that the players don't get into the weeds and the sticky situations with ownership, right? Famously, Donald Fear is the one that changed how baseball structured everything. He was an attorney, and he did all the negotiating for the Major League Baseball Players Association. No player was involved in that, and it was ugly, and he was able to be ugly because he wasn't a player, if that makes sense. So apparently president is often a non-athlete, and so maybe that's the position he'll become. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if they, again, I beg and plead that the PFAA represent more athletes than they do. That's my biggest beef. I love the athletes. I want to protect the athletes, but I love the masters athletes, and I love the team athletes, and I wish they had representation too. That is my plea to the PFAA.
But I think he had these plans of retiring like at the beginning of the season. And like, regardless of what happened at the games, I think that this was his plan all along. I think that Hopper wrote something like that in response to Hiller's post on Instagram earlier today, that like this was his last competition. I guess the game was like his last games. And I think when you can end your career, you know, like it's your decision. It's not like you didn't qualify and it was ended for you. I think that's also a good way to step out of the sport. But yeah, I mean, that's why, like, I now that, like, I see him retire, like, it also validates to me another reason as to, like, why he chose also probably to continue the competition, knowing that this was in the back of his mind, his last competition. Because to me, when you put those demands, but then you continue to compete at the competition, I felt as an athlete, like, that's like, which, like, if you want safety, like, maybe, like, that was the time maybe to step away. And he continued, and maybe he had other reasons. And this, you know, this to me shows maybe that's, you know, that was a big reason for him. Like, he already knew that this was his last season, and he wanted to also do that for himself. And then also his way of honoring Lazar was also to continue to compete. So I think a lot of just reflection on that when he announced his retirement.
I know this year's games weren't ideal, but
No.
he did go out on the podium.
Yep.
Which, you know, you look at other sports when John Elway went out as a Super Bowl champion, like, that means something.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge when you go out winning the championship. I know he didn't win it, but he wore the leader's jersey on the last event. And the picture that I actually put for the thumbnail, I believe, is from the last event tonight, because he does have the leader shorts on. And I wanted to show him in the leader shorts. That was kind of my idea behind that. And I got that picture at this year's games. But anyway, kudos to Brent. Great career. Thank you for being one hell of a person and being awesome to us on this show, as well as I know you've been that way to other people as well. And continued success. And I hope that what you do in the future is amazing, representing athletes in the right way to further the sport for all of us.
I wonder if you'd get into coaching too, maybe down the road. Programming, coaching, if that interests him at all.
He has some programming.
Yeah.
Like, I've taken his snatch programming that he has. Yeah.
When you talk to him about it, it doesn't sound like a passion thing for him.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I have all these notes from what I did, and so I just share them with the world. It's more of like, hey, I've got all this stuff. It's just sitting here. Here you go. Rather than like, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, the professor project.
Yeah. And he has friends that help him with all that.
Yeah.
Like, his coach is part of it.
He has a coach, which I feel like is who actually works with Shelby. I think
And
Brent
works
just kind
with
of
Alpha
mentors
Studs,
a
too.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, great career. Kudos to you. Can't wait to see what happens next. Next this week, we also had an announcement from Will Moorad. Announcement that something is coming. Is this what they call a hold the date card?
Yeah, save the date. Yeah.
Save the date. Don't really know what's coming, but hey, save the date. I will say that there's nothing of substance at this point.
Right.
And I have not talked to Will in a minute to know any more than that. But I will say that in my time during the games and the Masters CrossFit Games, when I was hanging around the TTT folks, there was rumblings of something coming, a different league. And I don't think it had anything to do with what happened with Lazar. And I don't think Will's has anything to do with what happened with Lazar. I think it is, hey, we need to make a better structured season, and this is our effort to do so. So, and when I say I heard it around the TTT folks, I don't think TTT had anything much to do with this. Maybe they did. I am not saying that in any way. It's just Will is a TTT athlete, and that's who he was hanging out with at the Masters Games and at the CrossFit Games.
Right.
So,
I didn't even know he was TTT now.
yeah, he was originally and just went back this season.
Because he was proven and then went back to.
Yeah, he was a coach at Proven, left, and now is coached by Max.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, and Max was at the Masters games, as well as a plethora of their other coaches, because it was a short drive from Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and TTT just did their podcast the other night talking about the season, and I don't feel like they went much into Will's side, more of just the games, the game season being online mostly, and their rumors that they've heard. So there's obviously been all kinds of rumors all over the place, right?
Yeah. When I started to listen to that one too, I actually listened to it going to bed and fell asleep. So I have to go back and listen to like probably the second half. But it felt like at the beginning they were very careful of what they knew and what they just wanted to talk about.
Right. I agree. I mean, yeah, it's almost like they know that it's going to be online, which I feel like at this point, that seems to be all but confirmed. Like everyone has agreed that is the case. It is going to be whether it's fully online or partially online with some sanctionals, right?
Patrick Clark says this sounds like spring professional football league, XFL, UFL, USFL. I've said the exact same thing in past shows. I really don't think there's enough money to go around to support more than one league. The way they have everything structured now. But those are a couple talking points that I just thought about this week when this came up. Because I think I said last week, I don't think there's a chance of another league competing with the CrossFit Games unless you just have a boatload of money.
Right.
And at that point, is it sustainable model? And like, I feel like I've gone through this with the women's hockey for like so many years. And now it's just like bringing me back to what I literally went through for so many years was we had a league. It wasn't quite professional in what we wanted. People had money. They started another league. Fans got split. It wasn't as good as media side, it looked great. And then there was a lot of stuff that behind the scenes wasn't great about the new league. And then there were still things in ours that could improve. And then like, it was just for so many years, like that we were divided. And then finally this past year, they finally created one league. And then now it's back to, it's kind of taken like the best of both things. And now it's thriving, but it's just like, as soon as you start dividing it, like into different paths and different leagues, like I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be sustainable, and it can look good, like I said, for 1 year, and it can look good on the surface, but behind the scenes and how things will get like money wise, like we'll see in 2-3 years whether it can actually be a thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many of these comps have gone under and take, like that's the last thing we need is people to get on board with one of these, pay their money, do a qualifier, pay a $300 entry fee and book hotels, and shit just hit the fan. Like, ugh.
And you see all these sponsors giving money to CrossFit and they invest for a few years and then they're like, shit, we invested too much and now we need to pull back and rearrange our model because it's not as sunshine and rainbows as what we thought. And we'll see, but I have my gut feeling is it might be a couple year thingy. And for some of the athletes that might be behind it, that might be, while they're actively in the game, like that's what they want. But for 10, 15, 20 years down the road, like, do they care about it as long as they got what they needed when they were there? Like, and like I said, this seems so much like what I've already been through. And yeah.
So my thoughts this week have been that all these, like what Patrick mentioned, XFL, USFL, US football, whatever, USF, while they didn't succeed, they were innovative. Mm-hmm. And so let's take a step back and think about how can we do things better to improve what we're doing, to copy what may be coming from other competitions. One, hey, how about letting us know when things are happening early enough that we can plan like our vacation time and our hotels and our flights to go to the events of the season. 2, when you go to any other sporting event and you look in the stands, everybody's wearing a jersey. The only thing CrossFit sells are shirts that say CrossFit. They don't say Carolyn Prevost. They don't say Jamie Latimer. They don't have your numbers from the games.
You can get the athlete jerseys.
How? And get them in a timely fashion?
At the games, you always could.
It's an afterthought done by the lead sponsor a couple times that never succeeded because they couldn't handle the demand of what people wanted, which tells you something. You're missing out on merchandising and marketing of these things to market your sport. You've got all these training programs around. Make underdog shirts that can actually say CrossFit on them.
Yeah.
Make a Mayhem shirt that can say CrossFit on them. That's a licensing you have that nobody else has. And it's a way to stream income into your business that you have not tapped into. You've let third-party people do whatever the hell they wanted to, and they have to skirt around the rules and can't use the word CrossFit on them.
Right.
So they don't look, it's the cheap replica instead of like the real replica that has the stitched numbers and the stitched, you know what I mean? Like that is ridiculous and should be done. They also need to live stream everything. I don't care if you can't afford the big one. However, if you have to do it down and dirty, figure out a way to live stream everything. Screw the haters that jump in the comments and say it's not good enough. Make sure you do it and stream everything that goes on so that people can tune in and watch the sport. Right now, nobody can watch it. That means that you're not growing what you're doing. And then there has to be enough consistency to make a plan. You can't change the rules every freaking year and expect people to be able to follow along.
Right.
You just can't. Those are 5 things you could change that improve the sport today. Tap into other revenue streams, stream everything, announce everything early enough so people can make plans. Be consistent with your season. Okay, 4. I'll leave the 5th one up to someone else in the chat. But those are 4 basic things. If I'm starting a league to compete, or if I'm CrossFit and I want to stave off competition, that I need to do tomorrow. Because this, like, letting third parties do shirts and stuff like that, and then trying to sign them on as the vendor to make the money, license it and make your own money up front. You license the shirt, you give Carolyn X%, you give yourself a big chunk of it for selling the licensing, and the vendor gets some for making the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what every sports league does. If I buy a Patrick Mahomes jersey, he gets a percentage of that.
Which is the way it should go. I actually think more jerseys would sell if people knew that their athletes were getting
every
this.
time they've put them up for sale, the vendor can't handle the demand. It tells you how many people want a freaking jersey.
Like normally you should have it like on the website for at least a year. The athletes that were competing at the games that year, it stays on the website the full year for people to order. You know, and then the following year, once you get the new athletes that qualify, you can have, you know, the new athletes, and then you still have the more popular ones that made it the year prior. You keep those ones on the website, maybe as like, we made too much, you know, little deals. But like yearly, you should have, you know, the current athletes that are competing in the season.
We have a couple fives.
Have the jersey sales.
Craig says an athlete development program with teens.
There's just no future for the teams. Like there's no scholarship opportunity. So like a lot of athletes that would be great in CrossFit, like why would you compete in CrossFit at a young age? Like you should be using it as supplement for your sports to get a scholarship at, an individual sport or team sport, versus specializing as a team, because there's just like the better athletes are just not in CrossFit, like at the teenage age. They're playing all these other sports. So unless there was actually a route to go, get your college paid for, then
right.
I don't
Patrick
even know.
Clark says, 5, make it an enjoyable in-person event. I agree. I think semifinals is very enjoyable. I think the games really stinks lately.
But you're watching from a fan. How do you bring new people on that don't know the sport? Like every time that there's an event, you should be able to see on the live stream what is the damn workout. Because if you just watch it right away and you don't know what's happening and you're not a part of like the CrossFit sport, like you should be able to see what they're doing, and it just needs to be more like visually easier for not just our people watching it, but people that have no idea what's happening.
I
agree.
Just
look at it and just know right away, oh, this person is in the lead. This is what they seem to be doing.
Live viewership, which is how you're going to really grow the sport. You're not going to grow the sport from people just going to Fort Worth or Madison or wherever. That's the true fan. Like, you're only going to get true fans showing up at the in-person event. People who are knee deep in CrossFit, and I think half those people want to go
stream everything because you need to make new fans.
Right. Yes. And it needs to be very visually appealing. It needs to make sense.
Kill Taylor mentioned in the chat. Yeah. Kill Taylor's a great resource to get people. It's something you can stream. They stream the quarterfinals. We have said on the show that if everything goes online next year, we're going to copy what they do and try to get other athletes to jump on and do that as well. Mm-hmm. As many people that can stream what's going on, the better.
Yeah.
But it'd be better if if CrossFit tried to do the same thing, or whatever the competitors league was.
Yep.
Patrick says, wait till you see what we do for Belgrade games. I think you'll see some of what you just brought up in 2 weeks.
Can't wait.
Napoleon says, haven't had a Scott Cries in a while. You've missed the beginnings of last 2 shows.
Yeah, that Hail Mary made you a little teary-eyed, I think.
I was sobbing like a baby right before we went on air. I like a lot of my teams. I love the Chicago Bears. I love the Chicago Bears, then I love CrossFit. Chicago Bears have been in my life since 1982. I've loved them ever since. And they break my heart week after week after week. Okay. So we've talked about the league. We've talked about all that stuff. And then to rub salt in the wound, CrossFit announced this week that the details for the upcoming Open will be out in December.
Yeah.
We have talked the last 3 weeks that it was like November 6th.
8th, I think.
8th last year. Now they've pushed it to December.
And they said that they wanted to bring out the information earlier, than prior years. And I'm like, well, is this earlier? Because I think
You're
it's later.
Yeah.
But.
Yep.
Kenneth says, I only like the Bears for Tyson Bagent. I only like Tyson Bagent because of the Bears. How about that? No,
Scott.
I actually really like Tyson. Rogue kicks off this week. Carolyn, you're planning to head over to Scotland?
Yep, I leave Tuesday after work. So I'm a little stressed right now. I need to do a lot of things before then for my lesson plan stuff for school. But yeah, leaving Tuesday after work.
What's that flight like?
I leave at 6 p.m. I get to London in the morning, and go from London to Aberdeen. I think I get there around 9:30 a.m. over there on the 6th.
Wednesday?
On the Wednesday, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you sleep on a plane?
Normally, yes. We'll see how much sleep I get. I'm hoping, because then I got to be in the morning hours of over there. So hopefully, yeah, we'll try to.
So you have
and Lex is also going from California, and she'll meet me there also on Wednesday. She leaves tomorrow night as well, or Tuesday night.
So it's been kind of put out there that you've done some testing for Rogue. Are you testing when you get there at like first thing Wednesday morning?
I don't have anything planned. Like last year I went to Texas, and then in case they needed to, and then because of the rain I ended up testing a few things like early morning before athletes got there. Who knows at this point? Once the floor is laid out, they might make me do a round or two of something just to see timing wise, perhaps. But I think everything's basically set in stone right now, and especially that it's indoor, I don't foresee many changes, but it might just be some transition stuff just to see how long certain things take. But yeah, I mean,
Well, Andrew Sten says I might be on your flight from London to Aberdeen. Patrick says, we are stealing your co-host for our preview show tomorrow. By the way, send us your picks, Carolyn. That's not stealing. Everybody's a free agent on this show, and we're all able to go on any other show if asked. We don't mind helping out wherever we can. You don't have to confirm or deny, but you have to test the workouts in a kilt.
I hope they get that.
I hope they get that too.
They had that one video that they were like sewing. So I feel like it would be a miss not to give that to the athletes.
I'll ask you this question. You were a tester last year.
Yep.
Did you get a goodie bag for being the tester athlete, or was it only the athletes on the floor?
Only the athletes on the floor.
I can kind of see that, but I think you also kind of deserve it too.
I mean, they brought me there, so I think that's. True. I take that as that's my goodie bag. Oh yeah, they are doing a kilt in a set of Rogue golf clubs.
They're getting golf clubs?
I don't know.
Oh man!
But there is like a longest drive thing.
What?
I think at the I think it was last year they had like a baseball simulator thingy.
Jamie acts like she's a good golfer.
Maybe they would get that.
I'm a pretty good golfer.
Says every golfer ever.
Yeah, the Thursday night there's a longest range. I gotta enter that. I haven't golfed in a couple years though, but I can swing a club.
I don't know if you've seen the event schedule, but for us that are stateside, if you're on the East Coast, you'll have to get up pretty early most mornings. If you're on the West Coast, probably have to stay up late a few nights. But I know like the first Friday morning is like 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. I think Saturday morning is 5 a.m. Eastern time. And Sunday is around that time as well.
Yeah. Well, so we get the workouts tomorrow, right? Monday, they release them.
Patrick, I hope that there's like a women's versus men's division. That's what I'm hoping for a longest range or longest drive.
I'm sure.
Because I cannot compete against some of the men that will be going.
The other kind of newsworthy stuff are James Sprague had pneumonia, was debating on whether he was going or not, has decided he is attending the event. So he is going now. And that this show Jamie and I will do some update shows over the weekend. In between, I'm sure my teams will do so good this weekend. I won't cry a bit before getting on the air, but we'll get on the air a couple times. And then hopefully we can do like a post-event show maybe early next week. when Carolyn gets back. Because I know with the travel and all that stuff, trying to get coordinated with them in Scotland may be tough. But maybe we'll get with her when she gets back to talk about what she saw live. And then she knows that anytime we're on the air, she sees us, she knows how to get in and say hi. Jody, you're a better woman than I.
Same. I mean, I will say I'm usually up, but not up and around. Like Aaron gets up for work at 5 a.m. So yes, I wake up and then I have to get Lucas up. He gets on the bus at like 6:40. So I'm up, but man, I try to not start my day till like 9 a.m.
Yeah, I used to be like a 5 a.m.er.
Ugh.
I actually did 5 a.m. workouts for a while.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was in bed early. Like I complain about late nights now. Like I was in bed early back then.
I mean, that's like Lex. Lex is 3:30 a.m. or 3:15 a.m. sometimes, but she's in bed like at.
That's just insane.
That is insane.
Honestly, when I'm on that schedule and I'm in California, it's really not that bad. I'm like tired literally at like 6:30, 7 p.m. I just get used to it.
Yeah, but that's really your 10:30.
I know. So like I just I basically stay on the same time zone.
So speaking of that, one of the last things I have in my notes for tonight is we just went through the fallback to an hour. How does that affect you and your training when we have to change times either back or forward?
I don't think it affects for me.
Yeah,
I could use an extra 2 hours today for the work that I still have to do for school this week. And the math test I need to do for tomorrow.
I feel like the back doesn't affect me so much. It's the forward. When I lose my hour.
They both affect me now. When I was younger, like they didn't really affect. The forward affected me a little. The back didn't. Now as I'm getting older, they both affect me. And it takes me about a week just to kind of get my circadian rhythm back.
Yeah.
I just feel like I don't sleep well for like 5 days.
I could see that. I'm like a night owl, and so I feel like it's better for me that it's dark at 5 o'clock, and maybe I can wind down by 9-10 p.m. instead of winding down at 1 a.m. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was dark at like 5:30. Dark.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. Yeah, walking the dog's going to be tough now. So, because he likes to go out at like 7 o'clock at night, and now it's going to be pitch black.
Yes.
So, he always wants to go out as soon as Jeopardy comes on. There, I sound really old.
He knows.
Yeah. This Barbell Spin put out this week that no failed drug tests from the 2024 CrossFit Games. Do we think that testing was aggressive, or do you think because of the incidents, maybe we just checked a box?
I'm sure they still did the top 5.
They don't test that much.
Yeah, they don't test.
Everyone that competes at the games has been tested on the individual side. Every single athlete at the semis, and if they was a backfill for whatever reason they didn't get, normally they get like an at-home test. Some of the athletes got tested prior at home, but once they're at the games, it's not many that get tested there.
Maybe the podium, right?
Yeah, maybe the top 10, not even, maybe top 5. I don't know.
I can't imagine it's more than top 5.
Let me ask you this. If we go to an online semifinal, which none of this we know, there's no place where they're all at to test them before they get to the games.
Right.
That's a huge issue with going online, is the amount of cheating people can do with drugs, and in terms of reps and videos and fake weights and all of that. When you start putting I mean, we went to the games prior online and maybe it wasn't as bad then, but I just think if everything goes online, it's just going to get worse in terms of the cheating that can happen and the cycles that people will be going through. And
well, look at the Masters in the 50 to 54-year-old division was completely destroyed because there was no testing prior to the games.
Yep. I don't know if they're going to have to do a little bit more like at quarterfinals or semis, maybe send out like maybe top, I don't know. They're going to have to do some random top 5, 10 people, send out some home drug tests and do that for quarters and semis.
So Patrick says they don't care. It's a cash grab now. That's my point. Because you're saying it's a cash grab now, you're just letting the sport die. Then give it up to somebody else, because if you don't care and it's just a cash grab, let somebody else do it where they can make the improvements needed to grow the sport. Not let it die on the vine.
The thing is like, people are like, oh, I've heard some people say like, oh, pay for the licensing of the word CrossFit, and sell that off, like make CrossFit keep the money from the Open. But like, if you're another league or whatever, you're just going to call it the fitness of whatever. Like, why would you let CrossFit keep all the money from the Open and stuff? Like, if it's your money that you're investing and you're not going to generate anything from the Open, like, why would you not just call it the fitness games?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need the word CrossFit. I mean, we know what CrossFit is, so it helps with the history of it. But yeah,
this is my true feeling here. If you take CrossFit off of the season, it doesn't mean as much.
I agree.
At least for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe you can build it into something special, but right now it doesn't mean anything. If you take the Open away from the sport, then you're taking the beauty away from what it is. The Open is a way for everybody, whether it's realistic or not, to say, I get to play.
Mm-hmm. I did the same competition as X, Y, and Z who qualified for the games, and I got to compare myself to that person and this age group. Yeah.
And then that bleeds into people going into the affiliates and growing CrossFit as a methodology.
The concept is great. The concept was great. There was a few things that needed to change, a few things to get better. The Open, if you made the Open matter, like I did before, it was like the Open is fun and it's a great community event and all that. I just think that there needs to be more than one path to the games. If there was injuries or if you just were sick that weekend or you didn't perform very well, like you should have more than one way, which is why I like the last chance qualifier for certain athletes that didn't quite, we were close, but, got to get a couple extra spots. But like something like, after the semifinals, here are the options. Like there's other routes to also get to the games, which is like the sanctional season, but there was freaking 50 of them. I felt, you didn't need that many. If you had, no more than 6, you can't have that many, but like no more than like, let's say 6 globally. And then those as well as, the original route to complete your roster for the games, like that would make sense. And like the system is not broken that was there before, that it just needs tweaking a little bit. And I think if you start having all of these leagues that are way different, like you're almost ruining what we have and ruining our own sport.
There's not going to be all these leagues. There's not enough money in the ecosystem to have all these leagues. There may be a league that tries to go up against it, but again, CrossFit has history on its side. But hopefully it makes them become more innovative to compete. That's my only hope.
Well, I'm curious, is Will's thing waiting for CrossFit's announcement or vice versa? Because I feel like whoever gets their information out first has a better shot at this.
I don't think.
I mean,
I don't think he necessarily wants to compete against CrossFit.
Yeah,
if you listen to his interview, he's still up in the air as whether it was something that could run parallel.
Yeah.
And not compete. Just an alternate season of another way to make money and sustain yourself.
How bad do you think the Open's going to take a hit this year?
It's going to take a hit because of the association of a death at the CrossFit Games.
10%, 20%? What's your thoughts?
And they did say that the Open would stay the same price too.
I don't think it's going to be as big as you think. You think it's going to lose 150,000, Patrick?
I think, yeah. Well, that'd be because there was about 3.
Hit.
Yeah, that's 50% hit. Yeah, I think that's a little overzealous. But yeah,
I think there are some people that are going to join because, and this sounds demented, but this is the way that the world works. There's a danger to it now.
I think going online, more people think they have a shot. So
yeah, we don't even know what it is at this point.
Well, that's the thing. We need some details, but yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I think that's what happened this year at the Masters CrossFit Games. I think they thought that because it was split off on its own, there wouldn't be testing. So people said, let's juice it up and let's see what we can do.
They just don't test enough there.
Yeah, they don't test enough. Agreed.
Like the top 5 is not enough, especially especially on the male side that traditionally take more.
But I think the 3 men that were busted were good and knew with just a little help they could be great. And they went for it thinking they wouldn't test.
Yep, and get their payday and yep.
Well, we're going to finish up with just 2 quick things, and that is first, Haley Adams did an interview with Rory McKernan. If you have not seen it, it's really good. You can tell Haley and Rory have been around together for a long time, and they are very good friends. Haley opened up a lot about her eating disorder, and talked about why she had to walk away from Mayhem for a minute and just be a kid, and travel and do things without guilt. It's an exceptional interview if you have not seen it.
Is there any insight to the Haley Murillo and Josh Murillo?
She doesn't say anything derogatory or that she just had to go do something different. And when she came back after taking 9 months off, like it was bad. And that she's glad nobody at Mayhem saw her.
Yeah.
I still think she didn't address Haley and Josh and everything that they did for her. Like they were all in on her. So whether she needed her little break from Mayhem and then came back, I think, and I don't know what happened between, that situation, but a thank you on air would have been nice. Appreciate the fact that these 2 took me in and had me on my lowest or one of my lowest parts and were there for me and cheered me on at semifinals, and all these people traveled. Like, again, I don't know what happened from an outside. I was hoping to hear something for that. And then I wanted, I went to Mayhem because this is what I knew going to the games, and I wanted, to prepare with, these athletes that were going to push me a little bit more in training. Like I would see that part, but I wanted to hear during the interview her acknowledge the help that she got from Haley and Josh. I agree. And it just didn't come, and I just feel like there's something missing. And I'm not talking about the Hiller documentary. That's before everything. The Hiller documentary was when she was all in with those 2.
Right.
Regardless of what happened, they were there for her at that point. And I think that I wanted to hear that.
Yeah. Your sentiment, Scott, do you remember this? Is exactly my sentiment when Haley did Hiller's video, and I felt like she didn't acknowledge Tasia. Do you remember how I felt about that? So it seems to be a pattern that Haley.
And then she did acknowledge Tasia in this video.
Yeah, she did. She did mention a little bit of Tasia. But yeah, Tasia is someone who was such a big role player for her over the years and knew a lot of what was happening with Haley and tried to mentor her. And it could be a pattern.
We don't even know if Haley and Josh wanted to be full-time coaches for Haley. Like,
they were all in. They were all in. Like, there's no way that you move your life and you go towards that. Like, there's no way, Scott, like that they're like, oh, you made it to the games, our job is done. No. If you listen to their interview, like, they were ready to, do anything to support her. And she went right back to Mayhem, which is fine. It's fine. Like, she's got her training partner. She said that she loves Luke, and they have a ton of people training for the games, and it's what she knows. And it's, she went back to what she knew, but there's no way that they wouldn't have wanted to continue their journey together to the games.
It's definitely a conversation worth exploring, if they're willing to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to Haley and Josh a ton. I'm not against reaching out.
And I'm sure there's no hard feelings, but I just think a thank you in the interview. Like, I was just hoping for something like that.
I agree.
Just like Kenneth said, just a shout out would have been great, just to talk about that part and what they meant to her and her training. But maybe Road didn't want to go that direction. And maybe they talked prior about not talking about that part. I don't know. But just a shout out would have been nice.
Yeah. A little flashback to the Open talk. Mike Halpin brings up a good point. 2025 is also the first year affiliates are paying $4,500. I'd be curious if more affiliates take the Open in-house and the $20 goes to them versus HQ. I know my former affiliate was doing this 5 or 6 years ago. They gave you two options. You could pay $20 to them. Everybody who did it in-house had to pay $20 to them. You got a shirt and you got assigned a team.
Yeah.
Then you could pay another $20 to do the HQ version. And I would bet 3/4 of the members did not do the HQ piece of it.
I still think that there's something about going on a leaderboard and then seeing your name year after year versus doing in-house, but but I understand the people that do it and want to support the gym and all that.
Would do the HQ version because we want to see if we improve year over year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were people in this affiliate that didn't even know there was a sport, right?
Yeah, like the people that don't like that you're trying to get to do the Open, and they're like, "What's the Open?" You're like, "We're signing you up," like they don't care. They'll give the $20 to anyone.
Right.
But for the people that actually know like what the Open is and to test your fitness and to see your improvements year after year, you can compare a bunch of things. Like the leaderboard is nice to see that progression or that regression year to year.
My former affiliate was, which I still have a good relationship with. They are very diverse. There's people from every walk of life around the world, and there are people that don't even know anything about CrossFit HQ. They don't even know there is a website that you can go fill out. Like they didn't care. They just wanted to have fun with their friends and be on the green team and see who did best in these 3 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the community part of the Open has always been amazing and fun, and depending on if you have that at your gym, but it's fun.
That's how 80-90% of my gym is. They don't comprehend it other than the fact that Jim and I have both been there now. So they realize that there's something that one or two of us are competing for, but that beyond that, they don't understand the season at all.
Yeah. And then the last piece of news is an organization we support wholeheartedly on this channel is Uplift. Mark Moss is an amazing dude. We love that guy. They have a November challenge, which is due. When is that, Jamie?
2nd.
Can you say that again? You cut out for me.
The 22nd.
Okay. The November challenge is double grace, right?
Double grace. It's like an interval style. You have to get to the 60 reps. So yeah, gnarly. Send them the video.
Work 1 minute, rest 1 minute.
Yep.
Man, I've never done it that way.
I know. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Who programs these?
Oh, it's always someone different. I think it's Sentinel. I think Taylor was partnered with this one, but they get someone every month.
Yeah, it's a different group every month.
I think
is that the same weekend as Reps Ahead?
Yeah, but you have all month to do it.
Oh, you have all month to do it.
Right.
Yep. You just have to turn it in on the 22nd by the 22nd.
Got it.
Yep.
Have you ever done double grace?
No.
I did it with my nephew. And somehow he fooled me into thinking we were just doing grace. So I went like all out sprint.
Oh no.
And then he goes, no, we're doing double. Kind of like the ranch run.
Yeah.
Right. It turned around. You got to do it again.
Yeah.
And I was just hanging on for dear life. And I think I was right at like 8 minutes because the second 30 were just brutal.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done double grace. I've done heavy grace. I've done double DT because that was programmed at the games in, I don't know, 2015, 2016, somewhere out there. So I did that, but I don't think I've ever done double grace. I've done double grace like with Lex going like maybe back and forth where we just had like 60, but not on the spot.
Yeah, my friend and I did that where we just singled it back and forth.
Yeah.
And you can fly pretty fast through double grace then. It's almost like an average single grace time. But that's pretty fun. I like doing that double grace as a partner. But if you want to do that, it's a fun one for this month. All barbell. Usually it's a lot of burpees and
I know. I usually like them.
Stuff.
I know. I'm not digging this one as much, but all right. I like to do them, so I'll try to get it done.
And then one call out before we leave tonight. Carolyn still hasn't done her death by burpees.
No, I did my rogue burpee challenge last weekend, and then
Her Wisconsin Badgers let her down 2 weeks ago. The only win any of my teams have had in 2 weeks.
yeah, mine have been sucking. Wisco hasn't done well the last 2 weeks. I will get to it eventually.
I know Carolyn's got to grade some papers and create a test before tomorrow.
Not yet. I've done grading my papers. I gotta create a math test right now for tomorrow morning.
And it's,
and it's
9:30 at night on a Sunday. I told her this was like what the high school student I was, 9:30 at night on a Sunday doing my homework. Yeah, I got a 15-page paper. I haven't started.
I was so like I was preparing, like doing laundry, making sure everything was ready for like Scotland. I don't even have anything packed for that, so I don't even know why I'm saying everything was ready. But finishing my laundry, like organizing what I'm leaving for my math classes and stuff when I'm gone. And it took almost the whole day, and even yesterday as well. I was writing report card comments all yesterday. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, it's 7:55. I got to get on the air here. And then I realized I had a math test to do. Oh.
So with that, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notifier so you first know when new stuff comes out. We have a new episode of All Access Masters CrossFit Games tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And those have been a blast. But I'm really glad I've only got 2 more weeks of editing to do to finish this up. And then we'll have the full 11 episode feature out there. I have no idea what that says.
He said I gotta read bullying Haley.
Oh,
Mm.
not bullying anybody.
No, it was a
Not
great
at all.
interview. I was just saying I wanted her to shout out
Yep.
my friends. And I don't even know what happened. I'm just saying. That's all I wanted. It's a good interview. I like him.
Yeah, it was a great interview. Rory did a great job. And he said he teased it with, hey, we're just touching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you come back and see the next one.
Right.
Which is great for a content creator. Well, we got Rogue in a couple days. Carolyn will be there in 3. Wow, 3 days. And then fun weekend of watching some CrossFit and strongman stuff and strong woman stuff. So we will do that this weekend, and we'll do some shows to kind of update everything. With that, thank you everybody for being with us tonight on the original Sunday night CrossFit Talk. Bye, guys.
Bye.